Okay, so one of the things that we'll be doing a lot this semester is graphing. So I'm going to show you one method of graphing, and then throughout the semester, you'll learn new methods, which then you can decide which method is best for you. So this one's called the point plotting method. And basically, when possible, you want to isolate one of the variables. You want to construct a table. You want to plot these points and then connect the points. So it's important that you use negative values, 0, and positive values. So for example here, I'm going to choose -2 for x, -1, 0, and 1 and 2. You can choose as many points as you like that will help you draw the graph. For most of the equations, you need at least 4 numbers. If it's a line, which we'll talk about later, then you just need 2 points. So basically, x is an independent variable. You can choose whatever you want for x, and then y is going to depend on what you chose for x. So here we have our equation. First, we can isolate one of the variables, y, for example. So I'm going to subtract 3x on both sides. So I can then use this equation. So if I plug in the -2, then we get y is equal to 8. And so our order pair is -2 and 8. Then I can do the same for the rest of those numbers. So I'm going to plug in -1. So that becomes +3 times 2, or +2, which is 5. And then 0. If x is 0, then y will be 2. Okay, so then the next one, y is equal to -3 times x, which is 1. And that gives us a -1. And then last, if x is 2, then we get 2 and -4. So once we have our ordered pairs, we can come to our coordinate plane here and graph these. So x is -2. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 will be about here. -1 and 5. 0 and 2. 1 and -1. And 2 and -4. Once we have our points, then we can graph our equation. By connecting these dots. And since we can choose any points for x, this is going to go to infinity. So we add the arrows at the end. Let's try one more. So here I'm going to pick for x -2, -1, 0, 1, and 2. In later sections, you'll be able to look at this and sketch the graph without having to draw a table. But for now, we can stick with the table. So here we have y is equal to -2 squared plus 2. -2 squared is 4 plus 2, which is 6. If I plug in a 1, -1 squared plus 2 would be 1 plus 2, which is equal to 3. If I plug in 0 for x, we get 0 squared is 0 plus 2. So my order pair here is 0, 2. And last, if we plug in a 1, then we get that y is equal to 3. And if I plug in a 2, then I get 6. So let's plot the points. We get 2, -2, and 6. -1 and 3, 0 and 2, 1 and 3, and 2 and 6. And so if I connect my dots here, then we get what we call a parabola, which we'll learn more about in chapter 2. Okay, so let's go to the next one. Y equals 4. We can create our own table. So let's say x is -2, -1, 0, and 1. So if you notice in the equation, we don't have an x. So what they're telling us is no matter what x you choose, your y is always going to be 4. So if x is -2, y is always going to be 4. And no matter what the x is. So we plot this in, we get -2, 1, 2, 3, 4, -1 and 4, 0 and 4, 1 and 4, and so on. So if I connect my points, then we get a horizontal line at y equals 4. So anytime you have y and a constant, it's going to be a horizontal line. And then on the next one, we have that x is 3. So no matter what is going on, your x is always going to be 3. So in this case, y can be anything, but it doesn't matter because x is always 3. So if we plot this, we go x is 3, and y is -2, -1, and so on. So this becomes a vertical line. Oops. And so anytime you have an equation such as this, where you have x is equal to some number, a constant, then you're going to have a vertical line.